Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is a Coby Kyros MID9742, which is an Android tablet with a 9.7-inch 1024 by 768 pixel display. Makes it similar in size to, say, an iPad or a HP touchpad, but it is running Google Android 4.0 out of the box, and it has a 1 GB of RAM, 8 GB of storage, an all-winner A10 ARM Cortex-A8 processor. Not the fastest processor around, and so you sort of get what you pay for here, but you don't pay that much. You can pick up this tablet for around $200. So I want to give you a quick overview of what it has to offer. We've got a headset jack, HDMI, USB, memory card, and power. That's pretty much it for the ports. We've got volume buttons, power button, which also turns the screen on and off, and a back button, which is not something you typically see on Android 4.0 tablets, but it sort of comes in handy to have. The placement of the power button is a little bit awkward. It takes a little getting used to, because normally you would expect it to be sort of all the way on the end, not on sort of towards the middle of the tablet here, but it works. We've got stereo speakers on the back, which are placed very closely together for some reason, so you don't quite get that full stereo effect unless you stick it right up to your nose, and even then I'm not sure that you would. But the speakers sound pretty good. They're not super loud like you would expect from a tablet. They tend to be a little bit on the quieter side, but if you're listening to a podcast or some music, even with the volume turned all the way up, there's not really any distortion. Camera on the back, camera on the front. Low quality cameras. They're good for video chat or taking a quick snapshot, I suppose, but they're not going to replace your high-end DSLR anytime soon. They're really there's no autofocus, there's no LED flash, and the picture quality is pretty substandard. But again, $200 tablet. You get what you pay for. In terms of overall performance, you can see that the Android 4.0 user interface works reasonably well with smooth graphics and scrolling and so forth. It ships with the GetJar App Store instead of the Google Play Store, and that's because this is not technically a Google certified device. There's a fair number of applications available for download from GetJar, not nearly as many as you would get with a real Google Play device. I installed the Amazon App Store, which also has other applications and has my settings because I've used it on other devices, so I was quickly and easily able to install some apps. Also, since it doesn't have a Google certification, it doesn't come with the official Gmail app, Google Maps, YouTube, etc. But it does come with Adobe Flash Player and a YouTube Video Player app, which is really just a shortcut to the YouTube mobile website. You can install a custom ROM on this, and you can find more information on doing that at liliputing.com. That'll let you install the Google Play, or a custom version of Android that has the Google Play Store installed, and that means that you can install hundreds of thousands of apps instead of tens of thousands of apps pretty easily. I didn't do that because this is a demo device that was sent to me by Coby for review purposes, and I didn't want to essentially void the warranty. But let's take a look at what it can do out of the box. It takes a while sometimes to load certain applications, as you can see. But once they're up and running, most apps run pretty smoothly on this device. So here we have Fieldrunners, which is a sort of tower defense game. And you can see playback is pretty smooth and the graphics look pretty good. Video playback is also pretty good. I found that Netflix video, for instance, works really nicely on here. Have come into a couple of quirks. When I'm playing music from Pandora streaming over the internet, it tends to clip the beginnings and the endings of songs. I'm not really sure why it does that, but again, the audio sounds pretty good. The web browsing experience could probably be better. Let's see if we can go ahead and start a video here from the web browser. To show you that video playback, when it works, is actually pretty good. There's not a lot of action in this part of the video. So you can see the video playback is nice, but the rest of the web browsing experience leaves a little bit to be desired. I ran the Sunspider Benchmark on this And it scores like a much older phone, one from 2 or 3 years ago. It doesn't really compete very well with some of the newer models that are out there. It does pinch to zoom, has a multi-touch capacitive screen, but you can see that it's not quite as smooth as it is on some devices, and it takes a little longer to load some web pages. So you can use it for web browsing, but it's not necessarily the best device if that's something that you expect to spend a lot of time doing. Watching videos, yes. Playing games, yes. Running other apps, sure. Web browsing, you can do it, but don't expect it to be as fast as your laptop. And while that's kind of bogging down, I'll show you that the keyboard also, I've noticed, sometimes gets a little bit on the slow side and has a hard time keeping up. So the keyboard, I've again noticed more problems when running the web browser than anywhere else, but the fact that the keyboard really just doesn't seem to be able to keep up can make entering text a little bit difficult, which is going to make doing things like sending emails also a little bit tricky. You can see that this website still hasn't quite loaded. So again, for web browsing, especially with multiple tabs, not necessarily the best device. And now the whole system seems to be slowing down a little bit. So, if you know what you're looking for, and what you're looking for is a relatively inexpensive device that has a 9.7-inch screen, the Coby Kyros MID9742, it might serve your needs. You can read books on it. The Amazon Kindle app runs quite nicely. You can watch videos. But the sluggish web browsing performance I find a little bit bothersome. For a little bit more money than this, for about $250, you can pick up something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 7-inch tablet. But if you really want the larger screen, there's not much else in the $200 price range that even works as well as this one. So there you go. And that is the Coby Kyros MID9742. And this is Brad Linder with Liliputing.com.